2018-031. Third supplemental ordinance providing for the insurance and sale of Anderson County, South Carolina solid waste system revenue bond, Series 2018, aggregate principal amount not exceeding $2.8 million, fixing the form and certain details of the bonds, authorizing the chairman of county council, county administrator, and the finance director to determine certain matters related to bonds, providing certain payment of bonds and disposition proceeds thereof. We have a motion to move this forward.
So move.
Motion, Mr. Waters, second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Floyd?
Okay, this is a bond. My question is directed to the administrator, Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns, how many bonds do we have out there now that's floating now?
I don't know right off the top of my head. Ms. Davis can get you that information.
Well, she's sitting there. Does she have it now?
Rita?
Okay, so how many would we would only have this one bond?
Give me, Ms. Davis.
Okay.
I think Ms. Floyd's asking total.
Total, we have 4 special source revenue bonds. We have 1 note payable, and we have 1 lease. We have 3 state revolving fund loans in the sewer fund, and we also have 3 note payables to the city of Anderson in the sewer fund.
Okay, we'd love to see some paperwork on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and also something that's really nagging at me is the fact that our fire department asked for a bond to be floated for them so they can improve the fire equipment that's needed. I don't think that they have had an improvement in years now, and they were asking for a bond, and we did get the letter back from Columbia saying that we could do that we could float a bond because there was some discrepancy about that. But what happened to it?
I mean, in discussion with the Fire Commission and Fire Chief, Ms. Floyd, and it's not just the bond passed. That bond, if we pass it, will entail a $4 million tax increase. We've since done some discussion and found out what they'd have to pay back and what they would get. It might be a better route, more feasible, more productive to go a different route. And talking to the advisory board of the Anderson County Fire Chiefs Association, met with them last week and they seem to agree. So they in discussion with the Fire Commission, so things are in the works.
So as I understand it, what you just said, you've been talking to them, but about something, but I'd like to just know more about it.
Well, the bottom line, Ms. Floyd, I asked them
more about it so that we in the public can know what's going on, because that bond, we've talked about that bond for a long time now with nothing has happened. No one has said anything about it, and it's like a hush-hush thing. But here we are getting ready to do another bond without understanding what's happening to the last one.
Well, can I ready for me to answer right now? So I'll explain it to you. There was no hush-hush. We've been talking, and I specifically asked them last week, would they like for us to vote on this at next council meeting, and they said no. So they want some more research done. I'll let the chairman of public safety, he was at that meeting also, let him.
Thank you, Mr.
No,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I've had enough.
Okay.
You have explained.
In other words, you don't want the answer.
Again, too. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Ms. Wilson.
I think there's a typo on the form of assignment at the end of the bond ordinance. The line says attorney to transfer the within bond own the books kept for registration thereof with fund power of substitution. I think they meant full power of substitution.
You got that, Mr. Harmon?
That. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, show hands. All opposed? Abstentions? So the motion.
I vote for it. Thank you.
So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 7B, 2018-033, ordinance authorizing execution of an infrastructure credit agreement among Anderson County, South Carolina, the City of Anderson, South Carolina, J.B. Ferguson Properties, LLC, and the State Planning Consultants Incorporated. This will be the second reading on this. Have a motion to move this forward.
So move.
Motion, Mr. Allen, second, Ms. Wilson. Now the discussion.
Yes.
Ms. Floyd.
Okay, is this the one, Mr. Burris? How are you? Okay, is this the one that's going to jam up another hotel downtown Main Street back in the parking lot? This is not the one?
It's not.
Okay, well, you know, these things are worded so vaguely that you don't know what they are. If someone hadn't said, if we say nothing about it, then the public will not even know what we're talking about here. But which one is this, Mr. Burris?
This is a project where an investor has purchased a number of buildings on South Main Street directly across from the city, from City Hall. They're going through a redevelopment of those buildings, increasing their value. Currently, they are captured in the TIF agreement. In that TIF agreement, all the tax dollars that come off of that project all go to infrastructure that the city has built. So the county gets absolutely no dollars in tax revenue out of those properties at this time. The TIF will end in about a year and a half, 2 years, about the same time that these newly improved properties will come on the tax books and will supply an opportunity for income and capital, with the capital investment, will provide tax income not only for the city but for the county as well. So the first investment amount is about $1.8 million. It will be generating approximately $120,000 in tax dollars. We'll get about 70% of that, and you would get the rest.
Okay, now, where is this property? Is that the old hotel down there?
I think it was the drugstore, and I think there was a furniture store next to it. I'm not sure.
And the old Palmetto building, which is warehouse for White Jones, that's part of the project too, Ms. Floyd.
Okay, what about those older buildings
Yes,
that
ma'am.
used to be hotel, all of them?
No hotel down there, but where Murph's and all of those buildings, if you start there and work your way back this way, then take into the Palmetto building, those are the buildings that we're talking about.
Okay, and the county will get how much out of that?
We'll get about 70% of the tax income when that comes on the books. The
Okay,
TIF will have to end.
It will be a city tax since this is their project?
Well, it'll be city and county. We'll combine the total millages. Our millage is about 315 mills in this district. In the cities is 104, 108 mills. So they'll get about 25 to 30% of the total tax bill. And these will come on incrementally as the investments made in each building and they're put into service, then they'll become taxable.
Okay, what would these buildings be used for in the
Residential
in the
and commercial.
Okay, but you don't foresee a tax increase?
No, ma'am. As Mr. Nelson was explaining, we don't
explained
receive tax money from it now because it's in a tax increment financing district that is in force until 2021. What that meant that all the money generated in that TIF stayed in the downtown area for infrastructure improvement. Ends in 2021, then we will be able to receive tax funds from this new and enhanced property.
Okay, now, that term TIP, I used to know what it means, but we haven't had one of those in a while. Please tell us again, what is TIP?
It's called tax increment financing,
Okay,
where you carve out a special area. The city had to agree to it, the county had to agree to it, and all that money goes to the development of downtown in a prescribed area. You have a map available that you can.
yeah, I understand that, but we don't put any money in it.
No, ma'am.
Okay, but all right.
Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion? The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 7C, 2018-037. Ordinance authorizing the execution of an infrastructure credit agreement among Anderson County Project Accommodation and the City of Anderson, South Carolina. We have a motion, move this forward.
So move.
Motion, Mr. Waters, have a second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Wilson, any discussion?
Yes,
Ms. Floyd?
Mr. Burns,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Mr. Boris. Mr. Boris, you want to explain what we're talking about in this one?
Yes, ma'am. This area currently also is in the TIF, and it is basically the parking lot that is just to the north side of Whitner Street, not Whitner, Market Street, and the parking lot. Park is currently really behind the buildings right here across the street from us. And there's a hotel project that's being proposed there, approximately $10 million, somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 85 room hotel. And the city and the county are collaborating on this project because it'll be coming off the TIF, and county's tax dollars will be applied at that time when it comes off the TIF.
Okay, now this one, C and D, represent the same thing. Am I correct or wrong about that, or what? It represents a hotel that's going to be built downtown in the middle of the parking lot behind Mellow Yellow.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's it in a nutshell. Okay, and this parking lot, this space is going to take up most of the parking lot we have for downtown. And they're also going to have a big old swimming pool there, right?
That has been mentioned, yes, ma'am.
And they're going to have about 80 rooms, and it's going to be in competition with the Blakely Inn down there. But it won't have the parking space that we're all used to, right?
Well, that's right.
All right, and I have been asked this question several times, and the question is, why? Why are we sticking a hotel in the middle of downtown when we don't have enough parking space as it is for downtown? Why are we not going somewhere else to do a hotel like that? Somebody even suggested over there on, you're going to have to help me, Mr. Burris, with the name of this street. Yeah, City Seed. Thank you. How did you know that? Okay, all right. And it was a good recommendation. Why can't it go there, off of Main Street, without putting us in a position to have to do parking spaces for people, to make parks and take the little bit of parking spaces that we have?
Well,
why?
I think there are two answers to that. One, the first thing to address the parking. At that announcement, one of the officials from the city indicated there was a proposed parking deck or a parking garage would be accompanying that the particular hotel facility. The second thing is the city owns that property down there and does not own the property where City Seed is that you've referenced.
But the thing is, if the city owns it, why do they want to sell it? They own it for the city people to be able to move, to have parking spaces down there. What are we going to do? They already have one parking deck, and we all know how that one goes. There's, I don't know if it's been used even now, because it hasn't been really used since it's been put there. But we're making people pay. It's going to be a paying parking deck?
I don't know what that particular disposition for the parking deck would be. I don't know how that would operate.
Well, you know it's going to be a parking deck, and then we're going to have to, I got one more minute. Then we're going to have to, people are going to have to come downtown to pay. You're going to hurt a lot of other businesses that use them at. To get to J. Peters, you can't even find a parking space, and don't be handicapped. There's only one handicapped parking space right there near J. Peters. I don't think that we have the interest of the people in mind. We may have the interest of the money makers or the money people in mind, but I don't think we have the interest of the citizens of Anderson County. But anyway, I thank you for that, for answering my questions.
Yes, ma'am, you're welcome.
Any more discussion? I just like to add, we're going to have nothing besides anything with this project. That's a private entity putting this together. They choose to go wherever they choose to go, where they think they make money. But the city's the one that's doing this, and these are all valid questions Ms. Floyd's got. Talked to the city council and asked them. At that announcement, they said they was gonna do not just a parking, building a parking pad, they were gonna do a study, downtown parking, and go from there and look at different things. But this is a City of Anderson project with this developer and helping out. We got into it because of the fee in lieu of, they can't do that. We have to do it for them. And I think it's a good thing for Anderson to come back and, you know, they put the money up, but the City of Anderson is the one that's asked for this and come through it, and they are really the governing entity down there, and they own the property. All in favor of the motion, show hands. All opposed? So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Graham, Mr. Wooten, Ms. Wilson in favor, Ms. Floyd opposed. Moving on to item number 7D, 2018-038, ordinance to amend the agreement for the development of a joint county industrial and business park, 2010 park of Anderson and Greenville counties as to enlarge the park. It's the second reading. We have a motion to move this forward. Motion, Mr. Wilson, second, Mr. Allen. Now, any discussion?
Mr. Chair, that's the same project. I take issue to the wording of the project as well. To me, the ordinary citizen, the lay people, wouldn't know what you were talking about if someone didn't say what this was about. This is another portion of the park that they want to build a hotel in.
Anyone else? All in favor of the motion, show hands. All opposed? So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Graham, Mr. Wooten, Ms. Wilson in favor, Ms. Floyd opposed. Moving on to item number 8A, 2018-036, ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of tax, special source revenue credit agreement by and between Anderson County and the company or companies known to the county at this time as Project 201-80430 with respect to certain economic development property in the county. Such property will be subject to certain payments in lieu of certain source credits.
Mr. Chairman, members of council, first, I need to beg for your forgiveness. I left my project description for this for the presentation on the copier, so I'm going to have to do this from memory. But anyhow, this is a $6.2 million capital investment. The particular project will create 31 jobs with an average pay of $23.81. Annual payrolls approximately $1.6 million. This is a company that's been in business for more than 150 years. They are in the technical testing of equipment and product for international and national companies, of course, all over the U.S. and all around the world. And they have locations around the world. This is all of the jobs that will be created there will require, for the most part, 2-year and 4-year degree employees. 31 very specific technical jobs with a great opportunity. It is a 40% SSRC project for the first 5 years and a 30% SSRC project for the next 5 years. First year taxes, well, the taxes last year were approximately $3,500. First year taxes will be approximately $21,000, and over a 20-year period, approximately $1.6 million, I believe is correct. Community impact first year is about $25 million, and over the first 20 years, community impact somewhere close to $150 million. That comes as a recommendation from staff and from the Economic Advisory Board, and we seek your pleasure in that project.
Now, we have a motion to move this forward.
Move.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Waters, and second for Mr. Graham. And discussion?
Yes,
Ms. Floyd.
we missed our phone call.
Well, I called, I left you a long, detailed message. I apologize.
What, today?
Yes, ma'am, about 2 o'clock.
Oh, no, I was out of the house. I've been running errands most of the day.
Well, I apologize.
No, I guess the apology goes to me, but I don't know what we're talking about here. Is it a chicken farm in my district?
Well, no, ma'am, it's actually in District 6. And It's in an industrial park location, approximately a 30,000 square foot facility that they will be going into. Great project, great opportunity. High-skilled, high-pay jobs. It's the right kind of thing.
Okay, well, I hope the District 6 council member is aware of it and knows what's going on, because when things go in my council district, y'all don't say nothing. I have to read about it in the newspaper. But if he's satisfied with it in his district, I guess it's whatever. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Whose like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. For a good time, we'll take a, I think Bishop Barnes might want to get out, we'll take about a 5-minute break. If they want to leave, they can leave tonight. We do appreciate y'all coming out tonight. Y'all welcome anytime. Come have some more fun. Meeting me close.
Mr. Chairman, I've been requested to, a point of privilege to make a motion that all the employees at Cam's Diner be given an increase in wages.
I need a deputy to remove this one right here.
Back in session this time, we're going into, 8B, 2018-039. Zone plan, zone plus or minus 8 acres, 3D, innovate zoning district. Christian Road, Harrison Circle, anyway. Before we go into a public hearing, Dr. Parker's going to give us a brief description. Then we're going to public hearing. After that, Dr. Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, the request is to rezone the property from PD, Planned Development, to IZD, Innovative Zoning District. The applicant's purpose for the request is to revise the current statement of intent and the current site plan. Staff recommended approval on this project. The zoning advisory group did not meet due to a lack of quorum in their August meeting, so technically that comes forward as an approval. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the request in their August 14th meeting. This was a complex project on a relatively large piece of property, but believe that the spirit of the Innovative Zoning District was met by the proposal. Felt that the project fit well with community character and was also an improvement on the existing statement of intent. I believe the applicant engineer is present with us tonight and can answer more questions. That's all the staff has. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. We'll move in now to our public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak to this matter, please step forward and state your name and district and address the chair. It's all involved. Keep in mind, if this passes, there's 2 more readings that has to go through. And what we're only doing tonight is a zoning. And if it passes the zoning, then it's got to go back for the thing, the Planning Commission has to go through that as far as comprehensive planning and all. So it's a long process for this thing to go be tweaked. So at this time, anyone wishing to come forward?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, council members. My name is Paul Harrison. My address is 718 Lowndes Hill Road. That's Greenville 29609. And as Mr. Parkey stated, I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant. We're the civil engineers on the project with Blue Water Civil Design, and would love to answer any questions that council may have concerning our application.
Anybody got anything? Anyone else?
Excuse me, my name is Donnie Bryant. I'm in District 7. I live on Waccamaw Trail, which is a dead-end road off of Crestview. My understanding, the IZOD designation allows the builder considerable leeway to make changes. May be wrong, but that's the way I understand it. From my road, leave my house in the mornings and all of that, afternoons, the traffic's so bad now that it backs up from Midway Church all the way past my streets. I can't get out in the afternoon. It does the same thing. Then you can't go down Harriet Circle because people picking up kids at that school back all the way up. There's no provisions being made for the traffic. I'd like to know what's being done on this development. Going to be turning lanes to get into this place? What kind of traffic problems will be handled on this development? I'm not against building, but it seems like all the building is going in our direction now. No provision made for traffic. No traffic lights, no turn lanes. So yes, I'm surprised somebody hadn't gotten killed Midway Church with a four-way. Then you got Harriet Circle coming off at an angle. People coming out of there that they don't abide by the rules of the road. But anyway, that was my comment. Hope the traffic problem.
I wished it would too, but I can assure you that ain't gonna happen. We can, maybe we can do some relief, but I don't know about totally solving something. That's a, like you said, it's a mess out there now, and they have been trying to do some things in years past and have trouble getting some right-of-ways out there, even back when Senator Walters was on council. But there's some things, like I said, this is a zoning issue tonight, then it has to go through the planning commission and comprehensive plan, and there'll be some traffic studies done and some things to do on that. Anyone else wishing to speak to this matter? Anyone? Hearing none, public hearing to be closed. We have a motion on move forward or deny.
I'll make a motion to move forward.
Have a motion, Mr. Wooten, to move forward. Second, Mr. Waters. Now discussion. Any questions or comments for Dr. Parkey?
Yes.
Dr. Parkey?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I don't understand the IZOD, Innovative Zoning District. I don't know if we've had one of those before. I can't remember one, but could you please explain that to me?
This is a review district, a design review district, so it does not specifically define density on the site, and it leaves that open, and therefore it enables the project developer to be more creative in their design that they propose. The plan tries to incorporate additional amenities and other aspects, conservation and other aspects, to try to make it a little bit better quality overall design than we might typically see.
Okay, well, Dr. Parkey, ever since they built that school up there, Harriet Circle, can you hear me? Okay, ever since they built that school up there, there has always been problems up there with the school, with the traffic and everything. If this is not being proposed to enhance the traffic, why are they going up there doing this? I mean, what's the purpose of it?
The project engineer might be in a little bit better position to answer some specifics, but our understanding of their proposal was that a few different design elements were going to be incorporated. One of those was a pedestrian access trail to the school, which is adjacent, hopefully to alleviate a little bit of the traffic backup. Also, the project is going to dedicate some additional right-of-way above and beyond what was already required to create an opportunity to alleviate traffic or enable some road improvements. Those specific details are indicated in the statement of intent. I think Mr. Harrison might be able to elaborate on those further, but this is what we know of at the time to try to take into account traffic issues in that area. Additionally, the DOT we know has an improvement project for that intersection in the Transportation Improvement Plan for the 2018 to 2023 period, and we believe that's going to be coming online soon.
Well, when the other person was speaking, it was doing a public hearing, and usually we don't ask questions during public hearings. We have to wait until afterward. But, Mr. Chairman, could we bring him back to the mic, please?
It'll be fine. You got something you need to ask him? I just want to say that when he's coming up here, keep in mind this property right now is zoned to PD. And this zoning right now, they don't do nothing else. They've got the right to put what's been approved, I think over 200 houses, a roundabout or something, give or take, plus some commercial stuff, plus some apartments, I think. This new proposal they've come up with, I think cuts it down, if I remember right, almost 5 acres more of green space, 2 access with the one now that's been approved, but they don't have to come out for council, which have been zoned far as 1 road in, 1 road out. And also they've gotten done away with the commercial and apartments on this thing and cut the number of lots down. But go ahead.
Sir, excuse me, before you start, what is your name?
My name is Paul Harrison.
Mr. Harrison, could you please tell me, you said that you represent whom?
I represent Blue Water Civil Design. We're
Okay.
the civil engineer representing the applicant for this
Okay.
project.
Well, Mr. Harrison, could you please tell me why are we doing this? Now, let me tell you something you may not be aware of. Years ago, when we first started laying out the plan for all of this, a walking thing was involved in there for the children where they could walk to the school and all of that, which would have alleviated some of the traffic. But the people up there, is from my recollection, didn't want that.
Yes, ma'am.
They didn't want to have a walking thing, but now they want it.
I think I can answer a lot of your questions.
Okay.
And let me start by saying the reason we're doing it is because, number one, what my applicant does and what the type of development he does, he could not build the current plan that's currently approved. Matter of fact, I don't mind saying that I don't think anybody could build the current plan that's approved because it was approved in such a time where there's new stormwater guidelines and constraints now where you have to provide wetland buffers and you have to provide stormwater detention ponds. You have to provide a second means of access, which the current plan was just not a viable plan. And in my professional opinion, it's not a viable plan for anyone to build by. So what we did was we took the original approval that was that's currently in place. We looked at densities, we looked at access, we looked at ways to approve upon that plan. And the number one reason we went from the PD, the IZD, or IZD zoning district is because we removed the commercial component from our application. So the original approval was for over 200 residential units. Some of those units could be in the original approval. They had a commercial component on the corner of Crestview and Harriet Circle. Plus, they had no account for wetland buffers, a significant open space, or that I see any stormwater management areas to provide detention ponds to serve the site. So with all of that being said, we've developed a plan in working with Anderson, and we've decreased that density and proposed less density. We've removed the commercial component from the approval that's currently in place. We've provided a second means of access, ingress and egress into the site. And then the only way that we can help traffic is, number one, we're under what's currently approved density-wise. And we also are trying to promote pedestrian walking paths directly to and from the adjacent elementary school that would hopefully, if anyone buys in the neighborhood, they could walk their kids to school, and we could provide a means for that. And I don't know that there's anything, a development in Anderson County. I'm not familiar with every development here, but we've done some other creative stuff like that. We provided sidewalks on both sides of the street, and what Mr. Parkey said too, another thing that we've agreed to dedicate additional right-of-way along Crestview Road and along Harriet Circle, and even at the intersection of Midway and Harriet Circle for a potential traffic roundabout in the event that the right-of-way could be acquired. But we've agreed to dedicate that right-of-way to help for future road improvements. So I know that's a lot. That's my main spiel. I tried to hit the high notes, but those all are vast improvements to this property and to the original approval that's currently in place that you could build by.
Mr. Harrison, you have been a big help, and I sure do thank you
Thank you so much.
for explaining. This is in District, what, Mr. Burns? District 1.
That's me.
Are you pleased with this?
Yes. In fact, I've spent a good deal of time over the last few weeks talking to constituents about it, and I actually live on Midway Road, and I was in that circle or intersection, and all my kids go to Midway, and so we sit in the traffic, and I even have a long-term vested interest with a 10-year-old, knowing that he'll be driving at 15. That I would like for things around our house to be safe. I think the things that stood out for me is some of the things Mr. Harrison said. In 2008, they were given the right to have commercial there. And when I told that to the residents, people were like, yikes, that scares me. They had the right to put duplexes there. They had the right to put an enormous amount of houses there, considering the density, with one entrance, no sidewalks. And so now they've come back and they said no commercial, no duplexes. We're going to go from one entrance to two entrances. We're going to put sidewalks connecting to the school. We're going to put 33% of it in green space. And so there was a part of me that when I heard this, I was like, well, we need to jerk their arm off because this is a good thing for the area. Now, the concerns that I talked with Ms. Wilson about being adjacent to her area, obviously, is the traffic. Now, in an ideal world, I wish DOT and traffic and the city and everybody could come together and have everything ready for the day, the first house was built. But in talking with the ANATS committee and Mr. Gay with the city, this roundabout and or stoplight is already on the ANATS list. And we've committed to work with the delegation and try to expedite that so that we could meet the timeline of what we know is going to be a traffic concern. Also, what I thought the owners of the property and developers were very generous in doing is offering the right-of-way to the county for future expansion so that we would do it ahead of time and not be trapped by the subdivision. So with anything, I think, we're battling some of our own successes on the industrial, providing more jobs, which is great. People are coming to Anderson and they're looking for places to live, and so we're seeing these larger developments come in. And from my consideration, living in District 1, representing District 1, and actually living in the area, I feel like this is the most optimal situation that can be done here. And I feel like they've come forward in a good faith effort. Now, knowing that, Ms. Wilson has pointed out, after the zoning process concludes, there will be a time in the plat process that a traffic study will be done. That will go back to the Planning Commission to analyze that traffic study. So there's even still a measure in place once this zoning's finished for that traffic to be addressed, which is a good thing. And I feel pretty confident with all the things that they've offered so far that all of those concerns can be met. And I told a fellow resident of mine who lived up in that area, I said, I can't guarantee that we'll get all the traffic done at the same time the houses are built. I said, we just don't have that much control over SCDOT, ANATS. I mean, there's a process to be played out there. But I feel confident that things are lined up for it to work.
Well, Mr. Uden, I thank you for that. Since this is your district and you live out there and you are in agreement with all of this, I'll yield to you.
Oh, well, thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, ma'am.
Back when this came before council in 2008, I did vote against it because there were some serious problems that were unaddressed. The plan, as I see it, and the statement of intent seems to cover all of those issues, like getting the children the opportunity to walk onto the grounds at Midway School. And there's a great deal more respect for the wetland and waterway protections and sidewalks, and also a walking trail. There are a lot of things to commend this current plan if it's put into actuality as it is stated. The main issue continues to be unresolved in my district, concerns there, and that's the traffic. And this goes back to 2002 when Midway School was first proposed there, and that was all District 7 at that point. And we began the long effort of trying to get SCDOT, the county DOT, even the COG involved as a funding source for road improvements, but nothing ever really got done. And I've talked again, in fact, I take our state engineer for a ride down Midway almost annually to look at what we need to have done there. Midway is probably the oldest and longest state secondary road in the state system. It's an historical road, actually. It's part of the old trail system of Charleston to Pendleton. But we do have the mechanism in place so that after we approve this project through the zoning, it does go back through the process with the studies and the requirements to get the traffic in and out of the project safely and keep the traveling public safe. And that's already in our ordinance. And I do greatly applaud you for coming up with methods of making this pretty piece of property very livable for a lot more people. The last one was absolutely, basically, it should have never been passed, not even by the rules we had at that time. So maybe some time and greater study will make this a really very, maybe a premier project that we can all point to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Time's expired. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 8C, 2018-04, ordinance to amend agreement for the development of a joint county industrial and business park, 2010 Park of Anderson, Greenville County, to enlarge the park. This is project 201-80430. We have a motion to move this forward.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Waters, second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion?
Mr. Nelson. Yes, sir. Mr. Nelson. Now, this is that vague language that I keep complaining about. You put all this stuff in there, but nobody knows what it means. Will you tell us what that means, please?
The project I described earlier, the 2018-0430, and the one I said that I didn't have the document for, I do have the document. But yeah, this is a multi-county park agreement between Anderson and Greenville. It allows the opportunity for additional state incentives, job development credits, and this is not going to be a infrastructure credit agreement. We don't think at this time for this project. It will just be for the state incentives. And with the chairman's permission, I'd like to pass this document.
Please, yes, sir.
See that.
Now, this is a real joint county industrial park. This is not used in there. Okay, but, yeah, but you know what I'm saying. For the hotel, we used a joint agreement with Greenville, Anderson County to do the hotel thing back there, right? But now this is the real thing this time. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. So the motion carries. Moving on to item number 9A, resolution R 2018-046, a resolution authorizing the execution and delivery of the inducement agreement by and between Anderson County and South Carolina and project 201-80430, whereby under certain conditions, Anderson County will execute a fee in lieu of tax special source credit agreement with respect to project and the county, whereby the project should be subject to payment of certain fees in lieu of taxes, and whereby project 201-80430 will be provided certain credits against fee payments, reimbursements of investments and related qualified infrastructure. Same thing we talked about two other times, it's the third time. We have a motion to move this forward. Motion, Mr. Waters, second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion?
Yes. Would you please explain it, what you're talking about here?
This really is a repeat of the ordinance in the first reading of item 8A. It's just in the inducement resolution that solidifies the document in a resolution form. Different attorneys approach that differently. Sometimes they'll do the inducement resolution before they have the actual ordinance written out and completed, but in this case, we've got the ordinance accompanying the resolution. But it just defines the project.
Thank you.
Have a motion, so we have all in favor of the motion, show hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries.
Thank you.
Ashley, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Moving on now, item number 9B, R 2018-048, resolution authorizing an application to the State Fiscal Accountability Authority of South Carolina for the approval, the citizens of Anderson County, South Carolina, of its special resource revenue bonds in one or more series, aggregate principal amount of not exceeding $28,750,000 pursuant to the provision of Title 4, Chapter 1 and 29 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina. This is one we've talked about several things. Come up, had many some workshops about talking about the sewer plan coming up. So Ms. Davis can come up and answer any questions, and Mr. Burns put it on the floor to have a motion. Motion, Ms. Wilson, second, Mr. Waters. Now discussion. Ms. Davis.
May I quickly point out, a lot of people didn't quite understand, like citizens, what this was about. This is apparently refunding several old bonds that came onto the books years ago at higher rates, and it also funds the $22 million of proposed projects to build out sewer lines and do what's needed to access the sewer in a more optimum way for the county for future development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. We have, as we talked about before, 4 special source revenue bonds outstanding. We will refund those with the proceeds from this loan, and also we will do Wellpine decommissioning Section 20 and building up Exit 14. That's the 3 projects that council approved about this time last year. Just getting the financing in order so that Mr. Singleton can make that happen.
All in favor of the motion, show hands.
I got a question.
All opposed? Go ahead, Ms. Floyd.
You said something about building up Exit 14.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, could you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, ma'am. They're going to build a treatment plant out there, and they're going to install sewer lines so that development wells and things like that can come on I-85.
All right. Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, show hands. All opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on, Ms. Davis, while you're there, you want to give an update, I guess, on the tax levy. There's nothing to vote on. Item number 10, tax levy for the Anderson County Council, year 2018.
Yes, sir. The auditor, Mr. Jackie Hunter, would just like council to
be aware of his job, what it is. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. He would like the chairman to sign this, and we just, as routine, bring it before council. You've already voted that this is the light during the budget season, and so we would just afford the council the opportunity one more time to raise their hand, because the levy sheets are fixing to come out, and end of September, 1st of October for our tax bill.
You want to put it in form of a motion?
Make a motion.
Make a motion. Mr. Wooten makes a motion recommended by Mr. Hunter. Like I said, he's one that sets this. It's just formality. And Mr. Graham seconds. Any discussion?
May I very quickly?
Ms. Wilson.
As I abstained during the budget because I felt like we could have pared down the millage a bit more, but I was in agreement on so many of the projects, I'll abstain this one too. Thank you.
Ms. Floyd.
What was the tax levy that he told us?
Well, it's 82.7 mills for the county ordinary that the county has authority over. Statutorily, he sets the debt service levy. So he will work to set that. But the portion that council has control over will be 82.7 mills.
Okay, what was it last year?
81.7 mills.
Okay. Okay, went up a whole point. Okay. I just thought that.
All in favor of the
bring
motion?
that up.
Show of hands. All opposed? All abstentions? So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Floyd, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Wooten, Mr. Graham, Ms. Wilson abstains. Moving on now to item number 11, report from the Planning and Public Works Committee. Chairman Wilson. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This involves our meeting on Monday, August the 27th. The first item our committee addressed was the subject of compensation for Planning Commission board members and for the Zoning Appeals board members. And we have backup for anyone who wants to refer back to that. It is becoming more difficult for these boards to meet the quorum requirement, as these volunteers are mandated 6 hours of orientation training and to attend 3 hours of annual continuing education in subjects specific to their jobs. They are also exposed to some bad behavior at some of their meetings, and more recently, members were sued by a developer. A survey of upstate counties indicated to us that the best model of compensation was Spartanburg's at $50 per meeting, which would increase our budget by approximately $32,000. Our committee voted 3-0 in favor of this measure, which we bring to our county council for your approval.
We have a motion coming from the Public Works Committee. Doesn't need a second. Now, discussion on the floor.
Yes. Ms. Wilson, you just said that your committee voted 3-0 in favor of the of that regulation. Am I correct?
That's right.
All right. But can your committee do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms.
We're
Wilson?
only making a recommendation to the full council.
Yeah, that's what you can vote on. You can vote to bring it to council, but you cannot vote on whether or not you're going to do it or not.
We did.
Well, you said you did, and I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Any more discussion, Mr. Allen?
Yeah, just a quick question. That's probably not a bad idea, but are want reimbursement now for meetings?
I think this is probably the only committee, these two committees and the Citizen Advisory Zoning Boards are the only ones, to my knowledge, that have to have specific special training. And they're volunteers, and unfortunately, those committees have volunteered for a great deal of abuse in the past year.
I agree.
So,
yeah.
Anyway,
there's some way to, and yeah, I think
I'm not the one who initiated the compensation idea, but after we discussed it in the committee, it seemed like a very appropriate thing to do to keep our committee members engaged.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I agree with Mr. Allen's concerns. But I think we need to maybe type some language up about the training or something, because I don't want to start this down the thing. In these committees, the Planning Commission and the individual neighborhood committees are having a very difficult time getting formed and having meetings, and it's causing hardship on the citizens of Anderson County. But I don't think you got quality people on these committees, $50 going to make them come or not. But I do think they need to be compensated something else for what they do, and see how it works. So this will be voted on 2 more times. We can sort of look and see, hopefully. But I have my support tonight.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I'll go along with that, and I think we need to get something in writing and maybe have a little better look at this so that we can delineate exactly why we're going to do this if we do it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Floyd.
One year, when the so-called new council came on, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, and I worked on a committee where we were going through each of the committees to see what it said. And there was one committee that in our regs said that we were supposed to pay monthly fees. You remember that? Yeah, I thought. Well, anyway, yeah, there is one in there. Ms. Davis, do you remember that? No, ma'am. It's another committee, because we discussed that, and we were going to bring it up again to see just what was going on and how come anything was never paid. But if you go back through the Code of Ordinances and you look at the committee list, there is a committee in there that's supposed to be paid.
Mr. Freeman's appeals committee for when we do reassessment, if you want to appeal the value, they get paid.
They get paid if they're called back.
That's right.
If they called back.
Paid.
But to have the first meeting, there's no pay for it. But no, this was not the one. But I intended to look it up before I got here, but I forgot. But we need to look at that again to see if there is such a committee. I read it. And I know that the code have not been changed since I looked at it last. So we need to check that to see if that's still in there. And if so, maybe this was the same organization. But it's something that we need to check on. Ms. Davis, would you please do that for us? Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, show hands. All opposed? Abstentions? You opposed, Ms. Floyd?
Yes, I oppose.
So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Graham, Mr. Wooten, Ms. Wilson in favor, Ms. Floyd opposed. Chairman Wilson?
Thank you. And we did recommend that the needs of the Citizen Advisory Board members be looked at too for the same reasons. The committee was next presented by Dr. Parkey and his staff with a discussion of Greenville County's approach to the intensifying development demands, much as we are. Our planning department reviews technical aspects for development applications, while our planning commission needs greater flexibility to apply more localized interpretation with respect to adjoining landowners and neighborhood conditions and concerns. Our vote was 3-0 to recommend to County Council to adopt the Greenville County measures. So this comes to you with our recommendation.
Coming from the committee, it doesn't need a second. Has any planning commission seen any of this? I think, well, they're supposed to have to make a recommendation too.
Election, Mr. Chairman, was this would be formulated by Dr. Parkey into an ordinance form, then it would be sent to the Planning Commission for their examination, then come back to council.
I think, if I'm not mistaken too, I think by state law, some of the stuff, it has to go through the Planning Commission first.
It does. It's supposed to be a directive, I suppose.
Okay, directive, that's right. Okay. All in favor of the motion, show hands. All opposed? So the motion carries. Moving on to item number...
Wait, we're still not done.
I'm not. Well, we're moving on to... We voted on that, though, didn't we?
We've got some more of our meeting that...
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to that. That's what I'm talking about. I'm just going down the thing here. Next thing, I guess item number 3. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. It's been a long night, hasn't it? The next discussion centered around the county's traffic impact study requirements as it relates to proposed development projects. Several years ago, our county council passed the traffic impact study, which essentially required the developers to provide the road improvements at their expense when traffic volumes and other factors dictated. Which is a cost to developers shall be included with either the application for a certificate of compliance or preliminary plat, depending on the nature of the project. And if you'll look at the actual verbiage of our traffic impact study, starting with the intensity standards, and then also the more of the enabling type language, which covers the purpose and the definitions, then that pretty much is pretty clear that the council does have the latitude to have the road improvements required. It's part of our public safety mission, and it's stated in here. So I just wanted to point that out to you. That concluded our meeting, and we hope to have another meeting Monday at noon to go over some other measures. Thank you.
Ms. Wilson. Now moving on to item 12, report from the Public Safety Committee. Chairman Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Safety Committee would like to bring forth in form of a motion the approval of Williamson EMS contract. This was nothing more than going back and tying up some loose ends where MedShore had taken over Williamson back when Williamson ended up having to fold a few years back. This was basically just clearing up some paperwork. It was put out for RFP. Several entities put in a proposal on this coming from the staff. It was recommended that Williamson receive the contract. Also, we did receive a letter of recommendation from the mayor of Williamson and the Public Safety Committee from Williamson, the town of Williamson's Public Safety Committee, which consists of the fire chief, police chief, one of the council members, and the mayor, I believe. And again, they did recommend that it would be awarded to MedShore as well. It comes from full Public Safety Committee with 100% approval of recommendation that council approves this.
Have a motion come to the Public Safety Committee. Doesn't need a second or any discussion. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Like sign, says motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chairman. We're on item number 13, appointments. Anderson County Museum Advisory Board, District 3. Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to take this time to ask council for approval of the appointment of Cheryl Froman to Anderson County Museum Advisory Board. She's definitely got the criteria. I did speak with the museum. It does come with their recommendation as well, and I'd put this in form of a motion.
Motion, Mr. Graham, second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Those lights, the motion carries. Next. Moving on to item 14, request for council members. Mr. Waters?
I have none at this time.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have 4 at this time. I'd like to do them all at once if I could.
Go ahead.
All right, Anderson Cavaliers Athletic Program. I'd like to put in $300 from my recreation account. The Anderson County Humane Society, $300. The Shalom House, $1,000. And the WLS Foundation, $250. I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Motion, Mr. Allen, second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Those light signs, the motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Mr. Allen?
All, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Floyd?
Yes, I have one, but it did not make the list, even though I called for it to put on the list. This is to the Anderson City Recreation Center. $1,500 to go to a program, people living in District 2 who would like to go to the rec center in Anderson City to do walking or whatever else they need, and for basketball. District 2 doesn't pivot to football for little kids. I think that's the only look, but it's $1,500 out of District 2's recreation money.
Have a motion, Ms. Floyd. We have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries unanimously. Moving on, Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If it's okay, I've got several I'd like to request that we'll do all of them at once.
Go ahead.
I'd like the approval of District 2 and 3 for $700. This actually goes to Anderson School District 2 and 3, which is they're doing part of a special needs program for teacher cadets and volunteers, and it's going to help fund some of the items that they're needing for that. I'd also like to request that I do $800 to Shalom House. Also, I'd like to do $2,250 to Anderson County Parks. This is a matching portion for a PARD grant to bring Parker Bowie Sports Complex, which is part of IVA Rec program, up to ADA compliant. And I'd also like to do $250 to WLS, which is When Life Sucks Veterans Program. When they originally requested that, it was at the end of our budget year, and I'm just now able to do that. So I'd like to do $250 for that as well.
Well, have a motion, Mr. Graham. Have a second. Second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like signs. The motion carries unanimously. Mr. Wooten.
I have any at this time.
Ms. Wilson.
District 7 would like to appropriate $300 to Shalom House and $500 to the district school districts 2 and 3 special needs fall games. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Have a motion, Ms. Wilson. Have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Allen. Any discussion? Play the motion, show of hands. Opposed, like signs. The motion carries unanimously. District 5's account, I'd like to appropriate $500 to the Anderson Cavaliers Athletic Program, $500 to the Humane Society, and $1,500 to Shalom House. Put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like signs. So the motion carries. Now moving on, administrative report. Now moving on to citizens' comments. Mr. Harmon calls your name. You have 3 minutes. Please address the chair. State your name and district, please.
Mr. Chairman, we have one citizen signed up, Elizabeth Fant.
Elizabeth Fant, District 3. I really am floored by the lack of enthusiasm and the lack of, sounds like some of you don't even know what our Pledge of Allegiance is. That was wimpy tonight. Real wimpy. Sounds like most of the meeting tonight, other than the finance end of it, is all about things. Infrastructure, sewer, roads, and what we're doing in that behalf, traffic, so forth. I'm with Ms. Floyd. I don't know whose idea this is to put a hotel right over there. You're going to be taking up the cobblestones, the Church Street Memorial thing that we just got finished completing a year ago, and that hotel is going to be in that parking lot. It's going to take up fire department parking places. It's going to take up police parking places. You're going to stick that out there right in the back of the Bleckley Inn of a man who's done so much for Anderson County. That is a slap in that man's face. He's got a hotel there, got some rooms over here next to J. Peters. He's built the event center. Why would anybody want to put a hotel in that spot in downtown Anderson? And basically there's nothing going on in downtown Anderson except for Party in the Park music on Tuesday or Thursday nights. We used to have an amphitheater here that had plays. It's no longer. On Murray Street, we had a place that did plays, and it's kind of iffy. We don't have anything going on in downtown Anderson unless you've got a wedding or unless you've got the Humane Society doing the event over here at the Carriage House. What is the need for a hotel in downtown Anderson? I think that we're missing the mark here. I think that somebody is getting grabbly with the money and not thinking about the people in Anderson County. Our roads are already congested. Our roads are in poor condition. Why do you want to add something else in downtown Anderson? There's nothing going on in downtown Anderson except for the Arts Center. We're not Greenville with the Peace Center. We're not got a cantilever bridge. We're not West End where people get out with their strollers and the dogs and walk up and down the street so they can be seen. That's not what Anderson is downtown. We got a lot of nice restaurants, but you don't come to a hotel to go to a restaurant.
Mr. Harmon?
No one else has signed up.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. Moving on to comments from council members. Mr. Waters?
Mr. Burns, I need your help on this one. The project we voted on tonight in District 6, one job's important to us, just one job. We looked at 31 more. That gentleman, the industrial park up there, would it be safe saying he's brought in about 500 jobs to Anderson County?
Very conservative.
That's what I was thinking. Probably 1,000 is more true, wouldn't, that's just, we like to be conservative, don't we?
In about 2 weeks, you'll have another one in the same location.
And that was $1.6 million in payroll, right? And that means people have jobs. So not only is President Trump doing pretty good, we're doing pretty good here in Anderson County, right?
Yes, sir.
I think so too. Mr. Wooten and I were talking a couple of weeks ago, and I can remember when there was a time that it was so tough, and there was one night I was sitting here and I just wondered, why I'd got involved in politics and on county council. Those jobs are one of the reasons. And that's very exciting. One of the things one of our goals has always been one job is important. And then we got 31 of those tonight. And then we have some more coming. And so it's just been consistent in that. And I'm excited about that. That sometimes you just have to sit and look back and see the good thing that's happened. Another good thing, I was talking with someone Sunday night after Celebrate Anderson, and they had been involved when we were trying to get some things started back up. And they were not as involved this year as they had been in the past. And one of the things they mentioned is that they were looking at Sunday night and how good things were going. I think 15,000 is a pretty conservative number on how many we had, Mr. Burns. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was a very good, very good event. And this person that I was talking to, they mentioned that their baby had grown up. And I remember when we were just first trying to get something started, and looking at it now, and it's a continuous thing. The first year I had the privilege of helping getting Charlie Daniels. The second year I didn't know what to do, and someone else stepped in and got somebody here. And the point I'm making here is there's a lot of people in Anderson County that have good ideas, and we just have to sit and listen to them. And there were a couple of people that walking around Sunday night, I just threw out a couple of questions. Who do you think we need to, who I won't be here next year. I mean, in the decision-making part, but I may have time to play my banjo, so I may be part of the show next year. You never can tell. But the point I'm making is to keep good things going is I consider this council right here one of the best councils in South Carolina, because it's amazing how we work together and and get things done. And just for instance, Sunday night's just one of those things. And then you look at the other people that step in and with the colleges, with the businesses that helped out, and it just sitting back and looking at all the good things that's happened. And it's been a privilege to be a part of that and to just see how things are going. We've got a lot of kids that are going to need jobs, and they do things that have fun. There were so many people there Sunday night just having fun, and it was just a privilege to be a part of that. And I'm excited of what the future holds. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Waters. Sal?
Yeah, just if I could, just to clarify something that you had said earlier, I think, regarding the hotel downtown. That's not a county project. We didn't ask for it. That's strictly a city economic development project. The city owns the land. It's a private individual that wants to build there. It's not costing the county anything. We didn't ask anybody to build a hotel downtown. The only reason they had to come through us, again, was because of the fee in lieu of process. And by law, that has to run through us. But I don't disagree with what you said, certainly, but just so it's clear, the county's not building that hotel. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Floyd?
Oh, okay, I have a couple of things, but if I can piggyback on that. If the city came to the council and they wanted us to do something with them that was a terrible thing, we don't have to do it. When we sign off on them, it's a county and city thing. You cannot have one without the other. If the county chooses not to go into this thing with the city, then they don't have to.
So by voting to go give them the fee in lieu of taxes because they can't get it themselves, but we're gonna have to, we made it a county and city thing. The county people will suffer just as much as the city people when they go to eat downtown at Dave Peters and cannot find a parking space anywhere. But I had some things I want to talk about. I would like to say it again about District 2's recreational account. If you know of someone who needs some funds for their rec program, please tell them that District 2 will not give them any funds through a letter. I am responsible for that $25,000, $30,000 for District 2. And I have to know where that money is going. A letter just won't do it. Because I have questions to ask on the behalf of the people of District 2 whose funds it is. I want to know where it's going. I want to know what you're going to do with it. How is it going to be handled? So please, don't include me in the letter. Call me on the phone. I will answer. I answer every call I get. I don't have an answer machine. I would like to again remind us that the recreational fund, according to our ordinances, is supposed to use for recreational purposes. I called down to Columbia and I asked, well, I was asked the question, who is it to say what recreational is? And the man told me, now, Miss Floyd, any fool know what recreation is. So I just left it at that. And I want to know who was it that called the newspaper on me about the fact that I did not give any money to the Haven Arrest last meeting. I got a call from the newspaper wanting to know why did I not give Haven Arrest any money out of my recreation account last week. Yes, we did. No, I wasn't Haven Arrest, Salvation Army. Excuse me, it's my fault. Why I didn't give Salvation Army any money for Salvation Army, okay? Number one, I didn't do it because it wasn't recreation. All right, I called the county and asked the county to give them some money, and the county said, oh no, we can't do that. We don't do that. And I said, well, county, would you give money if somebody just wrote you a letter and asked you for some money? And I was told by the county, oh no, we don't do that either. We don't do that either. Well, just know the Gracie Floyd District 2 don't do that either. You're gonna have to call me on the phone and tell me what you need recreation money for. You're gonna have to assure me that you're gonna use it for recreational purposes as the ordinance say. Okay, and whoever told on me, like I said, what you gonna do about it? You can tell on me all you want to, folks. You can tell on me. You can even tell my mama on me. But I want to know what you gonna do about it after you told on me. That's a tacky thing. As much as I could have talked about or said about all of you up here, I never did that. I never called the newspaper and said, yes, you did. I never called the newspaper and said, Tom Allen said. I never do that. That's tacky. All right. Thank you.
Graham.
Don't do that.
Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things. First of all, I do find the comment that was made earlier in the meeting a little offensive, that someone would even insinuate that council's commitment to saying the Pledge of Allegiance is not sincere, especially when we've got fellow council members that have served our country, currently has children that are serving our country. I personally have family that has served our country in the military, and I take the Pledge of Allegiance very serious, and I also feel like my fellow council members does. So if for some reason you felt that we did not take it serious, then I apologize for that. But I definitely think you've got the wrong impression, because we take it very serious. We say it before every meeting we have, not because we have to, but because we want to. And I take very much pride in when I stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I feel like the rest of my fellow council members does as well. Second thing, as Chairman Dunn had mentioned, we did have a meeting with the Chiefs Advisory Board concerning the fire bond this past week. And I apologize it was not on the meeting agenda. However, due to time restraints, it was actually after the fact. However, their desire as far as the Chiefs Advisory Committee, just kind of want to update fellow council members, because there seems to be some miscommunication on someone's part on this. Their desires on this is basically that the individual stations truly determine what the need is for the bond. What is the need? What is the actual items that needs to be purchased with the bond money per station, not for the county. The current one that was actually presented, the Chiefs Advisory Board recommended basically that it is not a true need for each station. Some stations has other needs, more in the rural, and I'm going to pick on mine. Grove Station down in my district would have lesser need for a newer truck because they've got a new truck and they don't run that many calls. Homeland Park would probably be more in line of needing a new truck because they run multiple calls. And with that being said, the Chiefs Advisory Committee is wanting to truly get in there, do an inventory of the stations, encapsulate the actual chiefs, and bringing back an information as far as what is their need for their station. At that point, they want to meet with the current fire commission and try to determine what the true needs to move forward with this bond. With that being said, we basically asked him point blank, do you want us to move forward with it? Their answer was no, absolutely not. We currently, the plan that was presented to us originally, it is not a good plan. It does not identify the needs of Anderson County Fire Service. By no means are we, as far as council members or anyone else that has looked at this, saying we do not support the fire system we have in Anderson County. We're very fortunate for the fire system we have in Anderson County. But we need to be just responsible with the dollars that we spend on our budget as we do with the dollars we spend on this bond referendum. So in other words, we need to be fiscally responsible as far as how this money is spent. And all we're doing is ensuring that items are identified per the station's needs. And that goes for every station in Anderson County. In other words, it reaches out and touches every citizen in Anderson County as far as what your primary needs are. Again, that is strictly at the request of the Fire Chiefs Advisory Committee. They are wanting to go through and do that determination. They want to go and meet with the fire commissioners, and they are wanting to come back with us. We offered resources from Anderson County. Miss Rita actually offered a couple different plans, and we also offered resources through Anderson County employees to help determine a business plan as far as what is the true needs, to help to go out and determine, how it's the best money spent for their needs. So, I mean, we're offering them resources to move forward with this. It's just we're not willing to give them a blank check. And originally, that's basically what's the request. And pretty much anyone in leadership capacity within the fire service throughout Anderson County, I'm not speaking of a certain fire chief. I'm talking about multiple fire chiefs, multiple lieutenants, captains in the fire service. They all are in agreement that we need to determine what is the true needs. So that's where we stand with the fire bond. It's not that we're against it. We just want it to be a better plan in place to move forward with. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Wood?
Yes, I just want to say I was very encouraged by the weekend event. It seemed like it was well organized, well planned, and I feel like the management company for this event especially had done a very good job. And so, and I'll say Ms. Floyd's comments that I was interviewed by the paper by the Salvation Army, and the interviewer asked me, he said, well, what do you, can you speak to what Ms. Floyd wanted to do? And I told him, I said, I learned the first week I was here that I don't speak for Ms. Floyd, and he volunteered to call you, and so that's, well, for giving money. And I said, I don't know, but he knew before he called me, and I told him, I said, I don't have any comment. You call Ms. Floyd, and so I don't know if he did at that time or not. But one of the things I really enjoy in life is the filmmaker Ken Burns, and I've been finishing the miniseries on the West with him. And I think is applicable to what we're trying to do here at County Council is in the 1880s, they were talking about a town in Colorado that was thriving and booming. And they said, well, let's build a city center. And they said, well, where are we going to build it? And they said, we're going to build it way out there in the middle of nowhere. And they said, well, why would we do that? Our city's here. And he said, because that's where we're going. And they knew the city was growing, and they were looking 20 years out. They were looking 40 years out because they didn't believe the point they'd reached yet was the pinnacle. And I think I'm excited about, we got to deal with potholes. We got to deal with development. We got to deal with everyday things. But I feel like we have a spirit of the council that we can start to look at those long-term projects that'll probably be there when we're not on council anymore or when our kids are older, and that we can set that vision for the type of things that we want to do. So I'm very encouraged by that, and I appreciate the council members. Thanks, sir.
Ms. Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Graham, for the update on the fire bond. I have a meeting with West Pelzer Fire Department regarding that Monday night. It's very confusing for citizens to understand what the jurisdictions are. And I think we're trying really hard to explain that. The city projects, for example, the hotel, that was not nice what they did to Mr. K, but that's the city, not us. The most recent announcement downtown, the office building at 201 North Main sold, and it's now being taken up in part by the corporate office for West Point Pepperell. So they'll be bringing 50 employees from Clemson to Anderson. So that to me was one of the most exciting things I've heard for downtown in a long time. And I wanted to ask, because I'm going to start trying to get some of the town hall meetings around my district and try to deal with the fire bond questions and the referendum questions. But what is the status of the page that we requested that will state the law, the referendum question, and what the hospitality tax can and can't be used for? Do we have that written up yet? We're down to the 11th hour here.
Ms. Wilson, it's not totally completed. I will have it completed this week.
Well, it's not like we haven't asked you about 10 more things to do in one day. I apologize. We do ask a lot of you, but we appreciate very much. And it's interesting, the county comprehensive land use map and plan is that template that goes out 25 years and tells us what the neighborhoods and the citizens and the landowners want in their specific areas. And it's the planning document for zoning and also for grants and funds for infrastructure. So that's another part of what we've been working on, and I greatly appreciate Dr. Parkey and Ms. Alicia Hunter and all of our staff that work so hard on all of that. Anyway, a lot of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to recognize Haley McMullen. She does, she works for us at the cafe, but also she has sent her first year of college, and she came to observe a meeting tonight for part of one of her assignments in college. But definitely proud of the young lady that she has become. Very smart and bright young lady, and definitely looking forward to seeing what the future holds for her.
Thank you. All I want to say is I appreciate the hard work staff done putting the Celebrate Anderson together, and Mr. Burns and his staff putting an employee picnic together for luncheon. It went real smooth. A lot of people showed up. Never seen it like it Celebrate Anderson itself, the contract night. A lot of people there. The only problem with that is trying to top next year. It's always that. And again, I want to thank all the young folks coming out for Leadership Anderson, and don't come back with me to every other month. There's more fun to be had. Meeting be dismissed.